Josh Thiel here from Hinz AI Center of Excellence. Today we're going to talk about price to win. Price to win is the strategic pricing methodology used by companies to determine the optimal bid price for government contracts. The goal is to set a price low enough to be competitive and win the contract, but high enough to ensure the company can deliver the project profitably. I'm not the expert in this. We're lucky enough, though, to have a pricing division, and the leader of that division, Tom Hudgins, is joining us today to answer further questions. I'm going to put on my Webster's dictionary or my Wikipedia hat. And if you had to, for some kids, as we make our new version of Webster's dictionary, do a one sentence description or definition of price to win, what would that be, Tom?
What that would be, in my opinion, would be the proposed price solution that makes sense with the presented technical solution.
So, Tom, when we're talking about price to win and you're breaking it down for a layman like myself, macro categories, broad definitions, thing to consider, how would you describe it to a layman to pricing like myself?
I've got a great graphic that I like to show. Is that fine?
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. Okay, you see here is your regular bullseye pattern here, and this is what I thought taking this approach and looking at it from this perspective would be the most impactful. So I would call the major four pillars of a price to win analysis start off with our actual data, the pragmatic experience, your competitors, and client knowledge. So when you start a price to win analysis, I would say the first thing you focus on is that outside circle right there, where you take a look at your data and do the analysis of it. You do the competitive assessments. You see what the execution metrics have looked like, because that's an indicator that you can use in your forecasting. And then of course, you've got contract history, digging into allocation actions, for example, any GAO reports that are in there, any protests, any contract bridges that might have occurred during execution. And so you take that information together, do some analysis, and then the next step is to take that analysis, then create some pricing strategies based on that, do some pricing scenarios to show them how can they get to those points that you identified during the price to win analysis. Then I also like to point out any kind of risks in doing whatever strategy they want to do. And then, of course, the overall objective here is to establish a price range. And then all that together, what does it mean? Your overall price to win right there. So as you can see, there's many factors going into a price to win analysis besides just price. It's all here. Data analysis, you got the competitors, you've got the actual data, it's all there.
So Tom, from this graphic here, where's my own data about my own cost and what it's going to cost me to do this? Does that factor in as well, or is that separate?
That's something separate. When I do a price to win analysis, I don't want to know that company's indirect rate structure or their cost. My price to win analysis has to be independent from that company, because when I do it, I put my perspective as if I'm a company bidding something for the very first time, and that would be my approach to try to be as competitive as possible. Then when I do those scenarios and present that to client, they can take a look at it and evaluate that against their own cost.
Got it. That makes total sense. So when I see these rings here, it sounds like you've got this great foundation of data throughout. And from that, then you get into the art form, which is the qualitative analysis from that data, from the data insights put together. And that's where you get those ranges, the strategies around it, the scenarios and risk, right?
Exactly. And that's where I can be very creative too. And that's one of the things that I like about my job is doing the research, then doing the what ifs. And then not only what ifs, and also the but we can or but then, and then what next. So it's always different. It's never the same for each opportunity.
Yeah, so Tom, when I see this and I start to hear you unpack this for me really for the first time here, you've got all this data, not just your own, but this macro data, some that's collected for years, some that's heavily research oriented. This would be a heavy lift for any independent organization, even large organizations with full proposal shops. It sounds like this is both a science heavily data focus that has a lot of background and capabilities built in behind it, even some proprietary software or algorithms that we're using, and then also the qualitative, that's just a lifelong learning art that you've formed.
Exactly. And then a lot of different people have their own ways of doing these types of things. But like I like what you just said, it's a science or it's an art, but more art. That's exactly right. I'm not going to know everything a competitor is going to do or has done, because that's proprietary data. We will never know that. Our best guess is our best guess, and that's basing everything off the data we find.
You said that the competitor data is proprietary data. However, after a contract is won and is out there, do we have insights into what was awarded for that contract before? Any information that can feed into pricing from past awarded contracts?
Yes, yes, actually, a lot of site sources show the total allocated amount or total award amount, and also execution at a certain point in time.
Mhm.
And when I said competitive intelligence, proprietary data, I was meaning like the indirect rate structures, the kind of fee they used. That's the art form. That falls under the art form right there.
Great, Tom. And if someone was trying to get into your industry or learn the Tom art of pricing here, where did you learn, and what inspired you to be a pricing expert?
Well, before I came across pricing, I was working on a contract for a government client, and I just stumbled upon pricing, working in a proposal. Someone wanted my review because I did a lot of financial work back then, financial analysis for a Navy program. And so I kind of liked it. I thought, wow, this is like a game. It really is. So and then after a few years of just doing basic pricing, the price modeling and forecasting and profit and loss analyses, I thought, well, who's deciding where these price points should be? And if whoever it is, how are they getting to that point? And so that's when I started asking the whys and what's about the whole thing, and I started getting more involved in the strategy and deciding what that price should be. And that just attracted me even more because it's research. I love research. I love analyzing. I love doing the what ifs. And so that just made me more interested in it because there's some creativity behind it, believe it or not. It's just not spreadsheets.
So I enjoy a good weekend in Vegas with my brother, and we always try to count the cards. It sounds to me like if I want a real rush, I just need to move into pricing with million-dollar contracts. And Tom's got the art form to really know how to work the system here to win. So, Tom, thanks so much for your time today. And any parting comments as we go here?
No, the only thing I'll say is that if anyone needs any help with price to win analysis or strategy, I'm here.